Oh, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
She has like a one-time Thanksgiving thing, you know, so, you know, if you wanted
Yeah.
to sign up for
Yeah.
that. 'Cause even
Oh, that's cool. Thank you.
Evening, call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Couple of housekeeping matters. Emergency exits are off to the side as well as out in the lobby and to the right and left. Restrooms are in the lobby area. If you haven't done so already, please sign the attendance sheet at the back of the room. There are also some business cards at the back table, along with the contact information for the planning department. Also, at the back table are the proposed resolutions for those decisions hopefully we can make tonight. If you haven't done so already, please turn off your cell phones or silence them. And if you need to have a conversation that doesn't relate directly to the present application, please take it out in the hall so that we can continue on with the application. As far as the applications go, our usual routine is that we're going to allow the applicant to make their presentation, and afterwards, we'll ask some questions. What we ask is a couple of things. If you want us to take a look at exhibits, just let us know. Susie's going to get them up on the screen so you can talk about them. And if you do your very best to use compass directions or descriptive language. It's going to make Amber's job a little bit harder if you say, well, if you notice over here and if you notice over there, that doesn't translate very well into the minutes. So descriptive language would be great. If you have other exhibits that we don't have, just let us know that they're new. We'll take them, we'll take a look at them. We just need to know that they're new. Also, from time to time, we may ask Susie to put up on the board the criteria. That's what we're going to look at, is the criteria for granting or denying a variance. We're going to do our very best not to talk over you, and please don't talk over us. Again, Amber, she's going to take all these minutes down, and it's going to make her job a little bit easier if we don't talk over each other. Take your time. We're here. Have questions, certainly let us know. With that, first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes, September 16th, 2024. I would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Matt, a second.
Second.
Thank you, Leah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Great. All right. First is Victor Heights. Who's making that presentation?
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm well.
And you are?
Jordan Morgenstern. I'm here on behalf of the property owner, Victor Heights Campus LLC. We acquired both 115, 117, the neighboring property, 119 and 121 Victor Heights Campus, Victor Heights Parkway, approximately 2 years ago. The tenant immediately vacated, like shortly after we acquired the property, vacating about 36,000 feet. We went to market with it immediately to look for tenants, and we found little sort of traction with tenants. We carried the property virtually vacant at 8,000 square feet for about 8 months. And somebody came to us and said, hey, we'd like to buy one of the two buildings. The two existing buildings, 115 and 117, are both, they've been there for 30 years approximately. They're on one tax parcel. And we'd like to sell just the 117 building to this buyer. And to do so, we've got to subdivide the property in two. By approving the subdivision, really nothing's changing at the property. The uses will remain the same. The parking layout is generally the same. There'll be easements that for traffic flow that allow both property users to use both properties for, ingress and egress. It should be pretty straightforward. We can't move the buildings, but we've had this burden of carrying these two buildings for like 2 years now. And we're sort of doing everything possible, sort of as a last resort to, to sell one building to, limit the burden. We're coming to you because the buildings were built, I guess, approximately 30 feet apart, and their setbacks are more than that.
So the nutshell version is you'd like to sell one of them. You know which one?
The 117, we have a contract to sell it, so assuming we get the subdivision approved, the building will close, the sale of the building will close shortly thereafter.
All right, so, do you have a purchase offer?
We have a signed contract, we do.
All right, and is there language there that states sum and substance that has to be divided, or?
Yes. There's no way of selling the property without subdividing it first.
All right, so what we also have is, this has to go to the county planning board. All right, are you aware how that works? Or do you
I understand that it went there earlier in the week.
Right, so we won't be able to make a decision tonight. We have to wait till.
You have feedback from,
Correct. And depending on how they respond with their advisory opinion is going to dictate how we can rule on it.
okay.
All right, so far, so good? All right, so that'll be on the 4th. So we can do a couple of things. We're going to entertain some questions. What I would like in the meantime, at least for the board to consider, you could provide that contract to us so we can see that it's a contract and that the prospective buyer wants the building and it needs to be subdivided. So at least we have some reason that this isn't just a, gee, we sure would like to do this, and,
Oh, yeah, no, it's a definitive contract. I'm happy to share it with you.
okay, all right, great. So let's hold that thought, and we'll circle back once we're all done. Fred, do you have any questions?
How far are the buildings, and how would the split be made?
It's all in the paperwork that you have. I don't know off the top of my
I
head,
was
but
looking at it on my computer and I couldn't find it.
yeah, I think it's right. It's on the map up there too, but
Right,
I think the buildings were,
can't see it too well from here.
yeah, okay. I apologize, I don't have the,
Did you blow the one that's blown up like this?
Oh, it's
Do you
cer-
have this?
It's 30 feet. Would be 15 and 15.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that's the one. So it's not 15 and 15. What that blown up version has
19?
is, to the,
Oh, right, 20-something and 9 foot.
right, that's it.
Yeah, I see it.
but yeah, the buildings are 30 feet apart.
I'm done for this session.
All right, Matt, questions?
Just a couple. I know Adam had brought up the issue with the parking, so it looks like it's gonna need require another variance for the parking lot setbacks as well. And then another one, how do we want to deal with the fact that there's obviously potentially 2 parcels? How do we add this to the second parcel that potentially doesn't exist yet, right? Because we're gonna have to mirror the variance onto a new one.
Go ahead.
Looking the wrong way, sorry.
Yes, there will need to be variance resolutions for each parcel. Both parcels have to have the variance. How that's like a chicken before the egg scenario, because the subdivision has to happen in order to get the new tax.
Right, so more like,
Parcel,
does the
right.
public have to be notified again, like all the process to go through to make sure at least the other parcel is included?
I would have to get back with you on I was honestly a little unsure myself, so I
And
could,
then the same with the parking requirements, is that in front of the county? There probably isn't a variance for the parking requirement in that.
they didn't request it because they didn't disclose whether they were gonna change the parking or not. They do get my comments as well, so.
Okay, so I'll give the applicant, Can you comment to that on the parking? If you mentioned in your,
Well, ideally, we,
stuff, right, you
we'd
keep it
be,
the same,
ideally, we'd like to keep the parking layout the same.
but you would have had to amend the application to include what Adam
We,
had
we
said.
found that out like I think on Thursday or Friday of
Okay,
last
all right.
week. So we can amend the application and request a parking variance as well. If it's easier to reline the parking lot, I mean, the parking seems to work well the way it is, so our preference, I guess, would be to do that, but if we have to reline the parking lot to remove spaces or to modify it, we could do that as well.
I'm assuming if they remove spaces, are they already up against the wall for the number of spaces required for the square feet? Or
Not necessarily, because that's in the Route 96 251 overlay district, so the planning board has the ability to reduce the amount of required parking based upon the
Okay.
occupancy.
But ideally, you want to keep it the same. You just,
Ideally, yes, ideally, the purchase agreement has a line that we've sort of, looks a lot like that line that's up there, and this is how we want to subdivide the parcels.
okay. No, I concur with what Mike had said, that, having the agreement is important for the record. I think with me at least, it just comes down to the logistics of how it gets divvied up between the two different parcels and how we deal with the parking not being part of the application package. If the public has to be notified and then it has to go back to the county, or not. So,
Larry, questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question on the map that shows the division, which is the one that's up on the thing there. The ramp with the handrail, does that mean that when you come off that ramp, you'll be going onto the other person's property at that point?
There should be access easements going back and forth so that it's not really a defined line, says, hey, you don't come on my property, I don't go on your property.
Okay.
That we anticipate like a working relationship, and it will be in an easement that both parties and future owners will have to follow as well.
Okay. Adam, could they have built both of these properties if it had already been subdivided?
I guess I don't understand your question.
If we had if the land was subdivided the way it is, could they have built the two pieces of property the way they are now?
No, I mean, if they were subdivided before the buildings, no. The 30-foot setback from the side lot line would have applied, so the buildings would have been built further apart from each other.
it's not without a variance.
Without a variance, correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they would have just shaped the buildings different. I think they're sort of an odd
Oh, no,
shape
I'm just-
now.
I'm-
I think you could have put the same size buildings if you just sort of rearranged the way.
Yeah, it looks
I have
like
no
that.
idea the logic behind why they were built so close to the way they were built, but
Okay,
my
thank you.
guess is a single tenant occupied both buildings, and that's why they were built that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, questions?
Yeah. So my only question is, getting back to the parking, I think I heard you say earlier that you would like to keep the parking lot as is, and I'm assuming that's the parking lot then to be shared by the two properties?
Well,
or-
I think in the ideal world, that the parking, like, we wouldn't want to spend the money to
Right.
repaint, to paint everything black and then move the lines
Mm-hmm.
around to accomplish the task. The parking will be independent, so each property will have their own parking, and the parking isn't necessarily shared, except for the handicap parking in the front of the building. That parking is going to be shared between the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
But the parking in the back, each property will have, their own amount. That was part of what was negotiated in the contract, was, hey, you'll get this many spots with the building. But use, being able to drive in and out of the buildings and the access and ingress and egress, that is shared, and that will be in the easement, just like the walkways will be shared.
Okay. And Adam, I guess the question is, if they leave the parking lot as is and with the spaces as they are, is that okay if the parcels are
Like Matt
separated?
was saying, that it would require another, more
Still another
variances.
variance.
But can I just point out that the buildings work the way, nothing's really changing other than the fact that there'll be two different property
Right.
owners. But the buildings have worked well the way they've been built, and the parking lots work the way it's been laid out for years. Really, it's just it's like on paper, a change to the ownership of the two buildings rather than there really being a change to how the buildings will operate.
Yeah, okay.
I think we're just trying to make sure we get all the papers right.
But yeah,
Yeah, this is,
that's above my, I don't, you, I think we're all relying on Adam.
I know you say the buildings are empty now, so you probably can't even answer my question, but will these lots, it seems to me when I drive by industrial lots like this, a lot of them don't even seem to be filled up all the time. So,
I can't imagine a scenario where there's 250 employees between the buildings. Like however the parking is, the one building that we're selling apparently is to be a warehouse for a distribution point for an online, like, distribution company. So they're gonna have a handful of employees. And then our one tenant at 115, we've got one occupied tenant, there's 8,000 square feet, and there's 3 people that work in that building in 8,000 feet. So we have another 8,000 feet that hopefully I get leased tomorrow, or the next day we got a third showing to somebody for 8,000 feet, and he's using it for, office furniture warehousing. So they won't, if there's 10 employees between
Yeah.
the two buildings, I'll be surprised.
yeah, okay. Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Right, so concern I have about the parking. What you're describing is a cooperative relationship between the current owner and the new owner. As much as we like to think that cooperative agreements last on in perpetuity, they don't. So all that has to happen here for this to go awry is the current owner, you or your company, then says to the new owner or the owners after that, hey, go pound salt. And they're up a creek without a paddle. They can't get to it. They're landlocked. It's a concern. Not saying it will or won't happen. It's a concern on why that parking, because you're already talking about a shared driveway, shared parking, and it's a potential issue going down the road. Is it not?
Well, I think that issue is resolved through the easement. So an easement's a recorded document, it gets recorded to the county clerk the same way a deed does, that sets forth all the things we're verbalizing. Because if I'm buying that property, if I'm the other guy buying the property, I'm not taking a handshake, be like, oh, I promise we'll be good, because I could sell the property too. There's no guarantee that the next guy would honor it. But an easement's recorded the same way a deed is, that sets forth both the rights to use the property and then also the maintenance obligations, because that's a whole other issue, right? That, hey, we're sharing the driveway. Well, if I refuse to chip in for the new driveway, hey, I don't use that part of the park, I don't use that driveway, I'm using the other driveway, I don't need to.
Okay.
This easement will set forth those obligations on both parties.
Okay. Susan, is it possible to rotate that picture counterclockwise? Can't, okay, all right, oh, we'll turn our heads. So what I'm concerned about is back to the ramp. That's where I'm pointing right there. And your proposed lot line abuts the edge of that ramp, does it not? Want me to do it again?
Yeah, I see the line you're saying, yeah. I mean, the ramp, it's a very limited ramp, but yes, it's close to the line.
Okay, so what you're telling us is the measurement from the corner of the building, I believe is up here, you're proposing you would need a variance for 9.5 feet. But in reality, you need it all. It's 0. It's right on the lot line, the proposed lot line. Or you're
No,
not,
I just
you're looking
the
at me like
ramp.
you don't
Well,
follow me.
I mean, the area, again, that easement will dictate that both parties will have an absolute right, a permanent right, to use the entirety of that walkway. There's a
let's-
sidewalk.
Let's go back a little further. An easement and lot lines are two different things, are they not?
Correct, yeah, two different
Okay.
things.
So the lot line and the variance, whatever variance you need, doesn't really care about the easement, it cares about the lot line. So what you're looking for is a variance for you to allow a structure to go right on top of that lot line. Irrespective of the easement, I understand there's an agreement, or a proposed agreement. And it comes to, one of the elements is the request for a variance significant? It's the third element.
Okay.
Yes, or do you want me to, should we show those? Susie, can you show that screen with what the elements are? There. The requested area variance is or is not substantial. So the closer you get to the lot line, the more substantial it gets. Whether or not this board feels that it's an issue, that's something else. I'm pointing it out just so that at least I understand we're on the same page, that that ramp is right on the proposed lot line.
So is because that ramp's a structure.
As
Is that
far
what
as
we're
I
saying?
understand it, unless
It's-
Adam's telling me
It's
something
sidewalk. I mean, it is made of, it looks just like the sidewalk that you'd walk right up the middle of it. It is a ramp so that it allows handicap access, but I think the ramp is more of just like a sidewalk that's graded that has a,
Okay,
a-
how about if we do this? Since we have some time, a little more homework for you. If you could have that proposed lot line staked out in between the buildings, so we can see what you're proposing, and in the meantime, Adam can make sure that if that structure, the sidewalk, the ramp, does that count as a structure when it relates to a side setback, or any kind of setback?
so if we're removing, so the reason that ramp is there is because at one point that space was two different, that half of the building was two separate tenants. So you had like a front and a back tenant essentially, and both of them needed handicap access. We don't really need that ramp because we're anticipating it being one tenant going forward on that half of the building. Like that ramp doesn't need to be there. We could remove the ramp altogether if that was something that was of concern or it was considered to be too substantial of an issue. But
I can't speak for the entire board, nor do I want your company to go spending money that they don't have to. So let's get on the same page, make sure that that same ramp that we're talking about, does it count as a structure or not? So we know that when, if this board decides to grant the variance, are we looking at the request of, you need 9.5 feet? Or you need it all the way to the lot line? When we-
And I guess I hear what you're saying, and if you tell me that it is if we decide that it is a structure, we don't mind removing the structure to overcome that obstacle. There is not a necessary purpose for that ramp.
Are you comfortable enough, Adam, that that ramp counts as a structure?
No, I'm gonna go take a look at it.
Okay, so let's hold that thought
Okay.
before you tear the thing out.
Okay.
All right. The other thing I'd like, and I would appreciate at least for the board to consider it, is to have Adam ask our attorney for at least an outline, an opinion on, do we need, or can we grant a variance for a proposed subdivision and where the lot line is going to be, or do they have to then subdivide it and then ask for the variance?
You can't approve the subdivision without the variance. Just-
That's the problem. So I think I just want to make sure on the legal end, it's a condition.
Right.
If we grant the variance, it's conditioned on the subdivision going through.
Right.
If you don't subdivide it, then the
Well,
variance.
I don't need the variance if I'm not subdividing it. I only need the variance because, like, we came initially, we said, hey, we need to subdivide it, and they said, pause, before you subdivide it, you need the variance. So that's how we ended up here.
Yeah.
It's going to look awkward. A variance runs with the land. You understand that piece
Yep.
of it, right? So if we grant a variance and it's never subdivided, and someone looks on the books a year, I don't care, later, what did they do over there? It's going to make no sense. So that's why at least I'd like to hear from our attorney, you're doing it right, or no, you're not, here's what you need to do. Just make sure everyone's on the same page. Okay? Great. Everyone in agreement with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
I am, the question about the parking lot would apply to the utilities. So,
How so?
2 water lines, meters, 2 electric meters. Both buildings wouldn't want to run on one.
Well, he's,
I'm fairly certain they're two completely independent services and two completely independent buildings. They don't share a water line, to my knowledge.
Right.
so for the parking issue, that needs a variance as well, Adam? And it hasn't been, public hasn't been notified on that piece of it yet. Right, so it's not going to be a fee, it's just we got to get the public on notice. So the sooner you can get that in play, I think the sooner we can at least try and get everything on the same page with it. All right, so if you could take care of that as
It's
soon
another,
as you can.
so that's another cycle and another cycle with the county?
So the county already got Adam's comments, so there's a chance that they will review part of that as well. I can certainly send out an additional postcard, including the parking lot.
So we're gonna keep our fingers crossed. The county then can get that together and get it all on the same page. What's your timetable on this?
The buyer wants to close as soon as we have the subdivision, we're expecting to close, you know, immediately is probably too strong of a word, but soon
As soon as
thereafter.
possible.
They've been asking, they're the ones who actually brought up, I think that when Amber notified me that we need to go to the county, she said the county meeting was in November, we'll send them the package for the November meeting, and the buyer's going to call me back and say, hey, there's actually an October meeting, could you see if they can get it in for the October meeting? And, you know, Amber's gracious enough to help us accomplish that.
Is
So
there
they're super
anything
eager.
in the agreement with the proposed buyer as far as any kind of fencing or any structures in between there is not?
There's no, we wouldn't allow that either. We need, say, when you showed that map and we're showing a sidewalk, we need access to that sidewalk the same way they need access.
Right.
There's no fences, there's no separation. They only have the one-way around. The one driveway is really a one-way driveway to the,
My concern is
Yeah.
if you put, or somebody puts a fence or some kind of structure.
there can't be a fence, there won't be a fence in any of those areas. Because we both need to access it
Let me
equally.
finish. Fire marshal's gonna have an issue with it, right? The more you put in between those two buildings, and especially at those sides, they'll have an issue. Don't you think so, Fred? Sure. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Well, we had a tenant, it was the vinyl outlet fence, and they were talking about putting fences up, like a fence around their property, create like a yard. And the fire marshal was like all over them about the yard and access, and we've been through that process with him.
So just to be sure, if the board feels strongly enough and puts a condition on that, there shall be no fencing in between those two buildings. You okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we would never allow, like, we couldn't do it.
Anyone else have any other questions?
No.
We're all good? Anyone from the public want to speak for or against the application? All right, hearing none.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to add for us?
I think we're good.
Great. All right, then we will
Thank
see
you.
you on November 4th.
Okay.
You got a little homework, if you got
I'll get
questions.
the zoning app, I'll get the parking variance application in to Amber.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great, Tambi Electric.
Good evening. Link Swedrock with BME Associates. Kevin Bragg is with me from Chrysantha Construction as well. Tonight, we're here to request an area variance for the rear yard setback for a proposed lean-to structure that Tambi is proposing over their yard in the back of their existing building at, located at 614 Fisher's Run. There's the proposed addition, their existing office is here, and their existing building. Most of their employee office parking is to the south here. Their employee access and most of the crews access this north parking area, and this is where all the bays are for the electrical trucks. This is the storage yard where they store a lot of their equipment. Right now, that area is open. There's a retaining wall on that, that's the east property line. The retaining wall is gonna remain. If you look at the pictures here, this is the retaining wall, you can sort of see it there. It's along that side there. The building stops here, so we're basically adding a lean-to addition to that retaining wall. And it'll be open on the north end if you keep going, so that's sort of the existing view from the south of the building looking north. And then, I don't know if we can keep going to the next one. Oh, there should be like 4 of them on that photo. All right, Basically, you can see.
Link, we just can't hear you, yeah.
I think we got,
We have those.
we have these, we just, they're not up. on
They're,
the screen.
they're just not up on the screen, but you can see, so they're looking from, the first one is looking from the south to the north, where you can sort of see that existing retaining wall over to the east. And then the next one is sort of what the building, we're gonna match the existing building and extend it over to the retaining wall. And then the third one is existing, it shows the open yard area next to the building and that retaining wall. And then the fourth one shows sort of the proposed lean-to, which is open to the north. It's just covered, basically just covered to get over it. And the main reason, the big request for the variance is basically to get their yard out of the weather. That's where they have their equipment, that's where they store their conduit, their stuff for the work, so that they can load it up, take it with them, and it will get the employees, the equipment out of the weather, help them load in the winter to get out to the job sites. The request is from 30 feet rear yard setback to 24, which is basically just holding where it is, where the existing retaining wall and where the yard is now. Also, one of the code comments is about that stream, that we will probably need to amend our variance request before we come back to you, because I don't think we can act tonight, because I think we got to go to county tomorrow. So our intent would be similar to the last application. We will be amending the zoning application, because we also are closer than 75 feet from the stream on this northeast corner. But that 75 buffer is in the existing building currently. It cuts the corner of that existing structure. So we'll need to amend that, go to county, and then come back to you guys probably at your November 4th meeting to try to request both those variances at that time. So that's sort of the
Link.
gist of the request, yes.
Are you also going to request a waiver for the sprinkler system?
No, we're proposing to install the sprinklers.
Okay.
So we're not the plan is to do that.
Can you just elaborate a bit on the water course? Are you going to do a seeker, or what's your plan on? You said you need to, and I missed what you were talking about. I mean, I know there's an issue with the proximity to the water course.
It's a 75-foot stream buffer required off that stream.
All right, so you want to amend the variance?
We're gonna do we'll have another variance for the 75-foot, for being in the 75-foot stream buffer. That's my understanding of what the code comment was that we got.
Okay, well, we may circle back to that. Leah, questions, comments, concerns?
The retaining wall, you said it's going to stay. So is the building going to be, the new lean-to that's built, is it going to be right adjacent to the line of the retaining wall?
It's gonna incorporate the same,
It'll be on top.
it's built on top of the retaining wall. It'll incorporate the existing wall to
Okay.
use to build the lean-to.
Right, so
It'll have to
be
get built up a little taller.
Built up from it, okay.
Right, right.
And are you putting electricity in that lean-to, or no?
We've got windows in, it's all open on the north side. I don't know.
You wanna come up with?
Oh, you gotta come up to the microphone.
We've got windows, Marcelo might put lights in there, but that's it.
Okay.
But we've got windows and the north end's completely open. No doors.
Okay. Did you consider, would it be a possibility to make this lean-to 6 feet shorter? You know, to be within code? I'm just asking that question.
We didn't, we did consider moving the entire operation someplace else, and because they needed the space, and then they said, let's take advantage of what we have now. We've already got this retaining wall, can we build on top of it? Our engineers determined that we could. It's just easy to come off from the existing building right out to that, where the wall is now.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what we'd do with that 6 feet if we, might be a
Yeah.
hazard there.
Yeah, and I agree that it's a waste of space
Yeah.
if you don't use that
Right.
retaining wall. Okay, that's all I have, Mike.
Larry?
Is there any change to the parking? The number of spaces or?
No, we were just here a couple months ago to get the parking, additional parking approved. So, we're building some additional parking on that side right now. That was approved by the planning board, right in this area. It's on this one here. We're building additional parking here, but that's all been approved by the planning board, and we're not proposing any additional parking improvements. It's on it's on my site plan that I submitted, which was basically the parking improvements that are already proposed, which are these ones here.
How close to the water? You know, it's supposed to be 75 feet. How close do you think you're going to end up being, or asking the variance for?
Well, right now, the 75 cuts that building right there, so I'm thinking it's gonna be within like maybe 50 feet on this corner.
Okay. I have no more, thank you.
Yeah.
And to add to that then, so the corner we're talking about is really the retaining wall that's already existing, right? So the,
The retaining wall and the pavement are already there. So we're not changing the footprint of impervious,
okay, just building on top of it.
just building on top of it.
Yeah, no further questions, I'm okay.
I don't have any questions yet.
Okay.
Let's go to the county.
Tomorrow, or are we on tomorrow?
You didn't have to go to the county as far as I knew.
Oh, we
Or
didn't?
in the blue, nope.
Oh, all right, perfect. I didn't know. I thought we had to go to county. I hadn't seen the county come out yet, so if we don't need to go, then we don't need to go.
Nope, you weren't in the blue on my map.
Okay, so we don't need to go to county.
Okay, so you're going to install the sprinkler system, right, so that's not an issue. Right now, it sounds like you're guesstimating on how close you are to that waterway? I think you said, what, 50 feet or so?
Well, I can scale it. I got that technology. Approximately 35 feet to that corner.
Okay.
Mike, I might contest that variance is not necessary because there's already impervious surface there. And the way that code reads, it says construction or impervious surface.
I did lay the 75 foot on this plan today, if you want to look.
have this, but this is the same plan
But I do agree, it's already just, we're not changing this area at all.
Hold on. One at a time, and
Sorry.
you can't, you got to go to the microphone, because that's how she's going to record it. Go ahead.
The plan that I just showed you is new from today, after comments about being close to the stream. So we've shown the 75-foot buffer from the stream that shows it running through the yard and also a corner of the existing building.
But like I was saying, this.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's already, this area,
Gotcha.
we're not changing it from what it is today, which is it's impervious now and we're adding a roof to it, but we're not changing what's there already.
Can we keep this, or?
Absolutely. I was gonna submit it as, if I needed to, I was gonna,
A bit, so that dotted line that goes through the proposed addition is what we don't have.
correct.
Well, it
make
sounds
a-
like is it a bit of a moot point now? That Adam kind of proposed, do they really even require that variance anyways?
I think it's there. We can keep it part of the record, but I don't think it's, now from what Adam's comments are, it's not as large of an issue as it was initially when we first started this.
Okay.
Right? Larry, do you want to see this?
No, I'm okay.
All right. All right. Given that, any other questions from the board? Good, good. Anyone from the public want to speak for or against? Okay, so we can make a decision today. The main reason, just to summarize here, that you're looking for that addition is to keep the equipment sheltered from the weather. You are, yes, you're nodding.
Supplies, equipment, and employees out of the weather. And I tried to list all that in the 5 criteria on my letter too, you know.
Okay, great. Going over the proposed resolution, just give me a sec. The county planning board wasn't involved,
Yeah, I saw the county planning on the resolution, that's what threw me off, so.
and no one spoke for or against. Okay, so,
Is Keith, the stormwater guy, in on this?
I think we're all set with the stormwater issue. Right, well, it's not really stormwater, you're looking at.
So they still need to go to the planning board for site plan approval.
Right.
Ah,
That'll be a condition for site plan approval. Okay. We're ready then to go through the criteria. An undesirable change would not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by the granting of the area variance. Justification being, the proposed addition is going, that it's already asphalt.
It's asphalt, yes.
So on the asphalt, and its purpose is to store equipment, supplies, and employees, and to give them shelter from the elements. Would anyone like to add anything to the first criteria? Second, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. As indicated in the first criteria, the primary reason is for shelter for supplies, employees, and the equipment. Anyone like to add anything to the second criteria? Third, the requested area variance is not substantial. The proposed structure is going on an already existing asphalt surface. Anyone like to add anything to the third criteria? Fourth, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. We haven't heard anything that relates to or has any board that would have any kind of physical and environmental conditions in the district. Anyone like to add a comment on the fourth criteria? Fifth, the alleged difficulty is self-created. Board is going to condition the approval on with site plan approval is required. Anything else as far as conditions or the criteria as set forth? I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Larry, a second.
Second.
Thank you, Fred. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Can you, I just, one thing on the resolution, just want to make sure we get the applicant right on the deer.
Yep, I already corrected
You already
it.
got that? All right, just making sure. Thank you very much.
You. right, next is Kistner.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm Todd Kistner, and I live at the 26, or 1268 Brace Road that we're talking about tonight. And I put a shed up, and then I got ducks. And there lies the problem, I guess. So,
How many ducks you have?
5 right now.
So they're not like chickens, you don't have to buy them at six at a time in
You
New York?
do. I lost one,
Oh, all right, sorry.
unfortunately. It is what
I
it is.
didn't know that, sorry.
But, I mean, the shed's fine where it's at. It was just because of the ducks and oversight on my part, I'll admit. I didn't realize there was a 100-foot variance. I already put it outside of my yard, so it's in what was like the woods or the weeds. So I'm just asking for a slight variance to be able to keep them if that's allowed. My neighbor loves them. They don't want to see them go. They pushed me to actually look into getting a variance.
Got anything from your neighbors saying that they don't want them to go?
I mean, not with me tonight.
All right, well, let's see
If you want something, I'm sure I could produce something like that, but the neighbor I'm talking about is the
I was
Serenity
gonna say,
House.
is it the Serenity House?
Yes, sir.
Nobody lives there.
Well,
Right, to get questions, comments, concerns?
Got any expansion plans for other animals?
not other animals, maybe more ducks, but I'm
I
not
think this should be
trying to have a whole farm here or anything.
limited to just ducks.
Get it?
It's all up, it's all there.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Were you thinking about there should be a limit to the number of ducks he has there? Or are you just asking to see if he had any in the plan?
Well, I was thinking no more types of animals. I have two friends that have ducks. Well, no, they're chickens. 10. No, I don't have any more questions.
Matt, questions, comments, concerns?
Just similar along the same line. So they're just purely pets, right? So if you had to just put a limit, like how many do you think you'd want? And obviously, we're just
I
trying to
don't
bind it, right? As you can imagine, with the variance, and Mike had hinted at too. I guess I'm just thinking that if we conditioned it on it only being ducks,
Sure.
so that tomorrow it's not horses or something else, right?
Yeah, I definitely don't have the room for horses.
Yeah, no,
I'm not even,
just throwing out a random farm.
right, sure.
And then if we could bind it with how many, like, so so 6 is the minimum, right? And so if it were
Right.
10, 8, I'm just trying, obviously, the reason for the 100 feet, right, is I believe it's because of potential odor from the manure and things like that, right, that they produce.
Yeah, there's not really any of that, but I know what
I
you're
get it for
saying.
6, but let's just say there were 50 there.
Yeah.
There may be an issue. So there's just needs to be some kind of watermark here
Sure.
for,
So-
I don't know what that number should be. It doesn't seem like it should be more than 10, maybe, in my opinion, but
I mean, so the way it goes with the ducks is you're supposed to have roughly, 5 females to a male. And when you buy them and you don't buy them from a hatchery, it's a gamble on what sex you're getting. So I currently have 2 males and 3 females, so my ratio is technically off. So I either need to get more females or get rid of a male or something like that. So if this is granted, I would probably, I'd probably want to buy some more females. Yeah.
so it sounds like there's
Not
also
a
going to
lot,
be,
but-
I mean, are there going to be, sounds like there's going to be baby ducks in the future?
No.
Or how does,
Eggs. but
eggs, right? So
Nah.
are you selling eggs? Are you?
I'm not necessarily looking at selling them. I was definitely planning on eating them though.
Okay.
I mean,
But I'm assuming you have male and female ducks are going to be fertilized eggs, right?
yeah, if you let them, if you're going to stick them in an incubator. If you don't stick them in an incubator, then you eat them just the same.
Okay.
It wouldn't matter either way.
So you have no
I'd have to
intention
go
of-
out of my way.
So there's
to
no
do
intention
that.
of breeding ducks, so we're
Not-
not
not
breeding ducks.
necessarily.
There's just,
Not necessarily, no.
so what's your number?
I didn't know I had to put a specific number to it, but,
I mean, you don't have to, but it shouldn't be infinite. I think it will just help. with the
yeah, no, I'm not
variance
looking to have 100
understand.
ducks, that's for sure. I don't even know. I mean, I don't even think I'd want 20. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't want to get too crazy here, you know?
I'll just, so how does, I'll propose a number. I'll say if 10, just in
Well,
my
you can't,
opinion.
you can't do 10, because if he's got 5-to-1 ratio, he's got to have at least 12.
I don't know about the whole 5-to-1 ratio to me is like, I'm gonna have to Google that or
I
something.
mean, I could explain it, but
Let me try and do this. How about if we start with 12, and if you find at some point, gee, I'd like to expand to 12, then you come back for an amended variance, but if 12, if you can start with 12 and see if you live with 12 and see how that works,
Yeah.
let's start with 12.
that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm not too crazy here, you know, I'm not trying to.
Other questions? Good, Larry, questions?
I don't have any, thank you.
Yeah?
No.
Okay. All right. Anyone from the public want to speak for or against the application?
Maybe object to the number of ducks?
All right, so, I think we've established either in your papers or you're in close proximity to Serenity House. I think it's a given, what Serenity House is and the good things that they do. Doesn't sound like the ducks are bothering anybody.
They actually love it, actually. It's a nice little distraction. We've been told by people who go there, family members, people who volunteer there, whatnot. They all say the same thing, basically. They love them. They've got no problems with them. They encourage them. Like I said, nice little distraction.
You're okay with that limiting to ducks only, domestic ducks?
Yeah.
They don't wander too far, they pretty much stay pretty close to home?
Yeah, yeah. You can call them just like a dog.
You got names?
Yeah. Of course. The wife and kid wants to name ducks, you know, so.
Okay,
I'll get names.
all right. I think we have enough then to proceed. Not going to the county planning board, so we don't have to wait for their opinion. And we'll start with the criteria. Undesirable change would not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by the area variance. The applicant has indicated that these are pet ducks. He only wants ducks, and due to the male to female ratio, the necessity of the male to female ratio, that he would be comfortable with having a maximum of 12 ducks on his property. And he's also in close proximity to Serenity House, and there's indication that both the visitors and the guests appreciate the ducks. Is there anyone that would want any other kind of comments or additions to the first criteria? Second, the applicant, the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue. Given the code and a 100-foot distance between a lot line, his lot doesn't, nowhere else to put it. He has about as centrally located as he possibly can, so he can't achieve it by any other means. Anyone like to add or comment on the second criteria? Third, the requested area variance is not substantial. The distance of 75 feet appears to be, as well as the limit of 12. Anyone like to add anything on the third criteria? Fourth, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. We haven't heard anything that would indicate that having a maximum of 12 ducks will have any kind of impact on the physical and environmental conditions. Anyone like to add to the fourth criteria? if the alleged difficulty is self-created. And the only conditions that I heard from the board is that two, ducks only and a maximum of 12 ducks. Entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve, sorry.
Larry, a second.
Second.
Leah, thank you. Any further comments? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you for your patience and cooperation.
Oh, have a good evening.
Your porch looks good too.
What's that?
Your new porch looks good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're coming along. We're getting there.
Second. Okay, Phoenix Mills. No ducks in your application, right?
Nope.
You are?
I'm Wendy Santmeyer. My family owns Phoenix Mills Plaza. I'm here representing them.
Is it your father that?
Yes, it
Okay,
sure
yeah,
is.
He's been in front of us a few times.
And this is his idea.
For the bull. I think we came in front, right? Isn't that where the
For
bull?
the what?
The bull.
The bull, yeah. The
Flaming
The
bull.
flaming bull, the grill.
Oh, yeah. Oh, when Tim was cooking out front, you mean?
Now
It's
it's
a lo-
gonna go up.
No, I don't want to do that,
Okay,
but-
okay,
but to
okay.
have the bull there, it required a
Yes,
variance,
yes.
which you got.
Oh,
It's
okay.
interesting.
I didn't realize that. I wasn't around for that then.
You would like a pergola.
I would like a pergola or a trellis guess, I'm not sure what the difference between the two are, but you have the picture, right? The colored picture? And then I only have 2 copies, but this is a look like from 96 that was maybe a little bit better.
We've got one.
Yeah, we have that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Little bitty version, but.
So just we'd love to hear from you. Just the heads up, you know this has to go to the county planning board.
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
By the time they hear it, then we will hear back from you on December 2nd.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Pretty much, what we are doing is trying to beautify the plaza, as my dad likes to do, with landscape areas, clocks, things like that, to have something nice to look at when you're driving down 96. It's not, nothing that people are gonna sit under. Basically, it's a 12 by 20 pergola that's going to have, he'd like to do a 3-foot, that's what I was trying to show in the rock wall that's facing the parking lot. It would be like a 3-foot pavers, kind of like around the landscaping area right now at the clock. And it would go up 3 foot and then taper down the sides. If you could see what I mean by that, I guess we use this little pointer here, if it works. Here, there we go. No?
So you're saying the left side will be longer than the right side?
Right, so right here it'll be 3 foot, and then we're gonna bring in topsoil mulch right here, and then slowly taper it down into the ground, so it just goes from 3 foot down to 2 foot, down to nothing, and kind of bring it around the sides right here. That's what the other picture I was showing that's more colorful is the look from, if you're going down Route 96, all you're gonna see is the flowered area and a little bit of the rock wall. You're gonna see more of the rock wall when you come in here to Phoenix Mills and drive through the parking lot. Just like you would do around your house, where you build the kind of the landscaping up and then bring it down and bring up topsoil through here. And just to make a pretty covered area with flowers, bushes, and then the pergola would sit here.
So is it going where the existing landscaping?
No, so
Island is?
what I had it figured, and honestly, there's no, I'd like it to be, and I don't know how much right here is the old telephone pad right here. We had a telephone, payphone that people would come up to. Right after that, I measured about 15, 20 feet from the edge of parking lot in is where the first post would be. So it's in the middle of two light poles that are sitting in the grass at Phoenix Mills. And then, obviously, it goes 12 foot out, then 20 foot, and then back around right here. So it's going to be closer to the parking lot side than it is going to be to the road. And I'm sorry, I did my measurements wrong on, I think you guys have the big map there. Yeah, sorry. So right here, I was kind of measuring it out while I was at the parking lot, and I went from the edge of pavement in, and I don't know if you can read it, well, I can't read, and I don't have a copy of what I turned in, whatever that measurement was here, and then I measured, or, taped off from the white line to the next pole, so how far it would be from the white line, and I didn't know that's not really the correct measurements that you need. You probably need better of property line and things, and I can get you better measurements, no problem. Whatever you need me to figure out for feet-wise, and honestly, this is where we thought would be the nicest place for it, but I'm here for comments and what you think, and kind of a preliminary that we'd like to do this and see how you feel.
Leah, questions?
Okay, I think the landscaping is really beautiful, what you proposed. I just don't like the pergola. I just don't see the value added with that. I think it'll probably detract from the landscaping. That's, I'm all for this without the pergola. I just think you can then see the plantings better and maybe do some extra things, with the landscaping. That's just my opinion. I think the pergola detracts from it, and maybe even as you're driving, even though it slants down, maybe it kind of blocks, some of the view for the businesses if somebody's driving by, especially if somebody who's not familiar, not like the rest of us who live here and drive there all the time. That's my opinion of that. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Otherwise, I think it's a very nice idea to have some landscaping, and I think the location between those two light poles is a good location.
Larry?
I have a question about the lighting. I'm looking at the photo that has beautiful traditional design on it, and it seems to suggest a number of string lighting,
We weren't going to put any lighting in it.
but you're,
I did put it on there, and then we decided lighting, I just don't want to go down
okay,
that.
so there's no lighting involved at all?
Right. We're just going to leave it set. And I'm sorry, the string light picture was the best I got from,
Oh, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I
yes,
understood what we were
no, I
talking
know.
about here.
And then we talked about lights, and then
So it's
Kind of
actually
been
going to look more like the
like this.
picture of the brown pergola, like that.
Yes, that was me taking it where it says, hey, if you want to superimpose this in your room, put it in, so you take a picture and then you put it, and that's what I did. And it sat right there in the plaza, and it was in the parking lot, then it was on top of me, but after an hour, I got it there.
I don't have any other questions.
Matt?
So no signage is gonna go on it, right? It's just gonna be,
No signage, no.
The
Nobody
pergola,
can sit under it.
yeah, we generally don't, try not to get into the aesthetics of things, we look at the 5 criteria, and to be honest, I remember when the bull first came in front of us, we were all questioning the bull, but the bull's kind of worn on me. I kind of like the bull. So my lack of taste, I won't come into my opinion on this, but I think I personally don't have an issue with it. In terms of, I just want to make sure, like from Adam, it'd be far enough in so it's out of the way of the sight line of the road. It's not within an easement. It looks like it'd be outside of the utility easement, and the only variance is because it's technically the posts are a structure, so these are going to be concreted into the ground there.
Yeah, it's an accessory structure forward, so as far as site distance and all that, it has to go to planning board, so that's when all of that stuff gets reviewed. So they'd need the variance regardless, You know, if the
Yeah, but-
planning board decides that it needs to move, but it's still forward,
Okay.
no matter where it moves.
There's
in
no
that
other
front
variance
lawn.
required, other than the forward, from what we can tell. It's not encroaching on anything else, any setback, or,
Not as proposed.
and no further questions for me.
Fred?
I think this is easy to approve, and as far as I'm concerned, you can put it in any way you want to.
Thank you.
Any help from us?
We all get a vote, do we not? All right. So what I'm trying to get my arms around is, let's see, you have a flagpole, and around the flagpole and clock, that's landscaped.
Right.
Meaning Shrubs and flowers, and
Yep.
what have you. There's also a sign there with all the tenants. And at the entrance of the driveway, you have another monument sign. So you have a lot of stuff on that structures.
But it's pretty stuff. We keep it nice.
There,
There's a lot of green grass space out there if you ever,
when we look at the criteria, there's nothing in there about pretty.
no, I
That's
understand.
not what we look at. We look
I
at.
understand.
Okay, all right.
I understand.
So, I can gather, at least from the survey instrument, the location of the flagpole and the clock and the brick sign, but your drawings and your numbers, what the board prefers is specifics about where you'd like this to go. So while we're waiting, if you can stake out where you'd like the pergola and this landscaping to go, it's going to give us a better idea on where it is, the location. You're going to need a measurement from the closest point from the white line, the fog line that's on Route 96 to the closest point to your proposed structure.
Yes, I did measure that from the white line to the one post that's closest to 96.
Wait,
Yeah.
You want to talk,
No,
you got
no,
to come up, we got to
no.
know, yeah, you're good?
So,
Okay.
no, so, so that one measurement, it says from white line of 96 to the next post in. So,
All right, so stake it off. so
okay, but I will,
We
yes.
can see the width, the depth,
Mm-hmm.
and what I don't have is how high is your proposed
Yeah,
pergola?
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when she was talking about site, and I don't know the answer to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you need to find that out for us.
Yep.
You see, it's a 12 by 20 structure,
Mm-hmm.
but how high is it?
You know, I don't know. I don't know
You
that
don't need it
answer.
today, it's a little homework for you and give you something to do, okay?
So Mike, I requested the distance from the closest point of the structure to the front property line. And the reason I requested that, not to the white line in the road,
Okay,
is because that survey there, the building that's all the way to the west is the most forward principal structure. And there's a distance from that building's front corner to the property line. So if they can give us the distance to the pergola, to the property line, then we know what the significance of the variance will be.
Okay,
that makes more sense.
right, yes, and I saw that comment.
Good. All right. I think all the other then locations of where everything is and what we need, I think we have, unless somebody else has something else they want to see.
We're voting on two things, the pergola and the light.
No, there's no lights. There's not going to be lights on the structure. You're not going to have the pergola, the landscape, it's not going to be illuminated.
Oh,
Other
no string
than
light. Right.
Parking lot. And so we're clear, if that pergola wasn't in front of us, you could put shrubs and flowers and do what you like there.
Right, it's just because it's a structure.
Okay, all right, good,
Yep.
just so we understand.
Yep,
All right, so we need to wait from the county planning board on what their thoughts are. And clear, no signage, okay,
right, no.
all right, good. Anyone else, questions, comments, concerns? All right, I think we have it.
Okay,
We'll see you on the 2nd.
okay. All right, thank you very much, I
so much.
appreciate it.
Have a
Thanks.
good night.
Probably not down in Florida, is he?
Yes, he sure is.
Is he? Is he
Yeah,
far
he's
enough
in-
south?
He's in the villages.
Okay, so far enough north, okay. There was one time he made a point to tell us he flew up right from
Oh, yes.
villages to be,
This time, no, he said that I got it.
cool.
He actually seen the same pergola with flowers under it in Naples, Florida. And
Okay,
that's what he's trying to imitate down here.
all right. No, cool.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, have a good night. Anything else before the board? Hearing none, entertaining motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Matt. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Everyone, have a good evening. Thanks so much.
If you've got a pergola down in Florida,